Imagine waking up hungry. Not normal hungry. I'm talking about the kind of hunger that makes your stomach hurt. Now imagine there is no refrigerator, no grocery store, no DoorDash, no pizza delivery. Nothing. Just you, a tiny human, standing in a massive wilderness. You look around. Trees, rocks, wild animals, and something is watching you. Your stomach growls. So what do you eat? The answer is stranger than you think. Ancient humans didn't have one perfect survival diet. They ate whatever they could find, whatever they could catch, whatever they could gather. And sometimes, whatever didn't kill them first. Sometimes, they ate berries. Sometimes, roots. Sometimes, meat. Sometimes, insects. And sometimes, they ate things that would make modern humans call 911. But there was one enemy ancient humans could never simply hunt. They couldn't scare it away. They couldn't outrun it. And they couldn't negotiate with it. This enemy controlled their food, their energy, their survival. But we will get to their absolute worst nightmare at the very end of this video. First, let's go back to the beginning. Imagine yourself living 2 million years ago. You're hungry. Your breakfast options are simple: a berry, a root, some nuts, or something with teeth. You have to choose carefully, because one bad meal could be your last. Early humans were opportunistic eaters. That basically means they ate whatever was available. Plants were extremely important. Roots provided carbohydrates. Fruits provided sugar. Nuts provided fat. Leaves provided nutrients. And occasionally, a very unlucky animal provided dinner. But plants weren't always safe. Some were poisonous. Some caused terrible stomach problems. Others were simply impossible to digest. So ancient humans needed knowledge. They had to remember which plants were safe and which ones could turn dinner into a medical emergency. Imagine teaching your child survival. Son, see that red berry? Yes, Dad. Don't eat it. Why? Because Kevin ate it. Where's Kevin? Exactly. But plants weren't the only food source. Ancient humans also searched for animal protein. They collected eggs. They hunted small animals. They scavenged dead animals. And they probably fought over food. Because nature has one simple rule. If something is edible, something else wants it. And that brings us to something ancient humans discovered. Something crunchy. Something disgusting. Something surprisingly nutritious. Insects. Yes. While modern humans complain about vegetables, our ancestors were looking at 6-legged protein bars, grasshoppers, termites, beetles, larvae. Basically, anything that didn't run fast enough. Why? Because insects are efficient food. Many contain protein. Some contain healthy fats. And they're almost everywhere. You don't need a giant spear. You don't need a horse. You just need courage and questionable standards. But insects weren't the only strange food. Ancient humans also discovered honey. Sounds delicious, right? Wrong. Imagine stealing honey without protective clothing. No gloves, no beekeeper suit, no smoke machine. Just one hungry human, standing beside thousands of angry bees. One bee attacks. You swing your stick. You miss. Another bee attacks. Then another. Suddenly, breakfast becomes a boss battle. But the reward was worth the risk. Honey provided quick energy, and energy was everything. Ancient humans burned calories constantly. Walking, running, hunting, climbing, escaping predators. Even existing was apparently cardio. But insects weren't the craziest food. Sometimes, ancient humans found something much bigger: meat. And getting that meat was an entirely different nightmare. Imagine finding a dead animal. Congratulations, you found dinner. Unfortunately, you weren't alone. Lions wanted it. Hyenas wanted it. Wolves wanted it. Other humans wanted it. Suddenly, your grocery shopping trip became a death match. Ancient humans became skilled scavengers. They used sharp stones to cut meat. They cracked bones to reach marrow. They searched for organs. They used almost every edible part. Nothing went to waste. Because wasting food meant wasting calories. And wasting calories could mean dying. But here's where things get darker. Sometimes, the animal wasn't dead yet. If fighting over a carcass was dangerous, Imagine hunting something that could kill you instantly. Something like a mammoth. You're a tiny stickman. The mammoth is not tiny. It's enormous. It has tusks. It weighs several tons. And it is extremely unhappy. So why hunt something that could flatten you? Because one successful kill could feed a group for days, maybe even weeks. Meat provided protein. Fat provided enormous energy. Bones provided tools. Skin provided clothing. The mammoth wasn't just dinner. It was basically an ancient supermarket with legs and anger issues. But hunting large animals was incredibly dangerous. One mistake could crush you. One charge could end everything. So humans developed teamwork. They used weapons. They studied animal behavior. They learned migration patterns. They waited. They planned. And eventually, they became terrifyingly effective hunters. But hunting wasn't always successful. Animals could disappear. Weather could change. Seasons could destroy food supplies. And suddenly, the world's greatest hunter became hungry. Very hungry. That's when humans got creative. They learned something important. Food didn't always need to be fresh. It just needed to keep you alive. They dried meat. They smoked meat. They preserved food. They stored nuts. They collected seeds. They found ways to survive lean periods. Because winter doesn't care about your dinner plans. And then came one of humanity's biggest breakthroughs. Cooking. Fire changed everything. You plant seeds. You grow crops. You finally have reliable food. Sounds perfect, right? Not exactly. Agriculture created new problems. Human diets could become less diverse. People began relying heavily on specific crops. Wheat, barley, rice, corn. One major crop failure could become a disaster. And then there was population. More food meant more people. More people meant more mouths. More mouths meant even more food was needed. Suddenly, humans were trapped in a cycle. Grow more, store more, protect more, repeat. And what happens when the harvest fails? Hunger. What happens when the weather changes? Hunger. What happens when insects destroy the crops? Even more hunger. And sometimes, mass starvation. This was the hidden weakness of civilization. The more humans depended on one food source, the more dangerous failure became. But ancient humans faced another nightmare: disease. Living close together changed everything. People lived near animals. People lived near other people. Waste accumulated. Diseases spread. And food could become contaminated. Suddenly, dinner wasn't just dinner. It was a biological roulette wheel. Spin the wheel. Maybe you get nutrients. Maybe you get parasites. Maybe you spend 3 days regretting every decision you've ever made. And yet, humans survived. They adapted. They learned. They experimented. They discovered which foods were safe, which foods were poisonous, which foods could be stored, and which foods could save them during disasters. But throughout human history, there was one enemy that remained. The enemy behind every meal. The reason humans hunted. The reason humans gathered. The reason they learned to cook. The reason they preserved food. The reason they created agriculture. The reason they risked everything for one more bite. And now, we finally return to the mystery. What was ancient humanity's absolute worst nightmare? The answer wasn't lions. It wasn't mammoths. It wasn't poisonous berries. It wasn't even starvation itself. The worst nightmare was uncertainty. Ancient humans never knew where their next meal was coming from. Think about that. Today, you can open your refrigerator. Nothing there? You order food. Hungry tomorrow? You go shopping. Ancient humans had none of that. Every meal was a question. Will we find food? Will the hunt succeed? Will the plants grow? Will winter arrive early? Will the animals migrate? Will the harvest survive? Their entire lives depended on unpredictable nature. And that's why humans became obsessed with food. They hunted. They gathered. They cooked. They preserved. They stored. Then they farmed. Then they domesticated animals. Eventually, they built civilization around food. The shocking truth is this: human civilization didn't begin because humans suddenly became comfortable. It began because humans were terrified of being hungry. The refrigerator you're standing beside is the final chapter of a story millions of years long. A story that started with one hungry human looking at one berry and wondering, can I eat this? That question changed everything, because every supermarket aisle today is basically the final boss of ancient survival. Rows of food, thousands of choices. So the next time you complain about being hungry is how hungry humans became civilization.